Over the past 50 years, something surprising has happened to male fertility. Large global studies suggest that the average sperm counts have dropped drastically, between 50 to 60% since 1970. Even more concerning is that the decline appears to be accelerating in the 21st century. But how real is this trend? Is men's health really actually declining? And if so, what's causing it? Hi, I'm Tina, a naturopathic doctor working in an integrated setting where I try to get to the nuances of health and wellness. And if that is something you find interesting, please like and subscribe. Today I'm going to touch a little bit about men's health and the declining sperm counts. The strongest evidence comes from large meta-analyses combining data from hundreds of studies across multiple countries. The most comprehensive analysis looked at sperm data from 1973 to 2018, and it covered more than 200 studies and tens of thousands of men. And here's what researchers found: that sperm concentration declined by about 51%, and sperm count declined by roughly 62%. Even more concerning is that the rate of decline has accelerated. Before 2000, the rate of decline was roughly 1.2% per year. After 2000, it was roughly 2.6% per year. Now, this doesn't mean that every man is infertile, and the studies weren't uniform, and critics argue, justifiably so, that the men were already seeking fertility treatments. So this can actually skew your numbers. There are regional differences, and some countries show relatively stable trends. But overall, the global pattern is consistent. Average sperm counts are declining. And why this matters is that sperm counts aren't just about fertility. Lower sperm counts are also linked with higher rates of chronic disease and even shorter lifespans, suggesting that it might actually reflect overall male health. And like most things in medicine, the most likely explanation isn't a single cause, but a combination of factors. Researchers generally group them into three categories: lifestyle changes, medical reasons, and environmental exposures. So let's look at the lifestyle changes. Contributing issues can be obesity and metabolic syndrome, smoking and alcohol, poor diet and poor sleep, and psychological stress. These factors can disrupt hormones, increase inflammation, and impair sperm production. Medical conditions, certain diseases, are obviously associated with lower fertility and declining rates. These may include diabetes, thyroid disorders, chronic infections, autoimmune diseases. And then last on the list is environmental exposure, and this is probably the most difficult one to put your finger on. It's also an area that is receiving a lot of growing scientific attention. Modern environments expose us to thousands of synthetic chemicals, many of which actually interfere with your own hormones. These are called endocrine-disrupting chemicals, and they're found in plastics, packaging, personal care products, even cookware. So let's start with one of the most studied groups, phthalates. These are chemicals used to make plastics flexible. Like, think about your squishy water bottle. So they're commonly found in food packaging, vinyl floors, plastic containers, personal care products. A meta-analysis found that men with higher exposure had significantly greater odds of abnormal sperm quality. Phthalates appear to work by disrupting hormone disruption and increasing oxidative stress in the testes. Another well-known chemical is BPA, or bisphenol A. We do have a meta-analysis of 18 studies that shows that urinary BPA is negatively correlated with sperm concentration and total sperm count. It seems to alter the sex hormone profiles. But high-quality human data directly linking typical BPA exposure to lower fertility rates for live births is still limited and sometimes inconsistent. But this justifies both precaution about exposure and scientific caution about claiming definitive population-level fertility effects. So there are many products that are now labeled BPA-free. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're any better, because the replacement chemicals may have similar hormonal effects, and the research in that department is still catching up. Generally, we just say don't warm things up in plastic Tupperware. Try to keep it in a cool setting if you're going to use plastic Tupperwares. or switch to glass, but plastic without being heated seems to be okay. And avoid lined tin canning. If you can buy your fruits and vegetables frozen, that might be a better option. Let's look at non-stick cookware and what we call PFAS, which are forever chemicals, because they take a really long time to degrade in the environment. They're used in products like non-stick cookware, water-resistant fabrics, and food packaging. Higher levels have been associated with lower testosterone, reduced sperm counts, and motility. The exact risks are still being studied, but they're now considered a potential contributor to the declining male fertility factor. The good news is that many of these things that are linked to reduced fertility are actually modifiable, or you can actually minimize them in your everyday life. And research consistently shows that certain lifestyle changes can improve your semen parameters. Certain changes like diet, for example. Healthier dietary patterns that are rich in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seafood are associated with better sperm quality. Also important to note that these same diets also reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, inflammatory disease, obesity. They're generally great across the board. Exercise and weight. Regular moderate physical activity and weight loss is also recommended and can be a benefit to fertility because it can improve your sperm motility and the morphology simply by losing a few pounds. Obesity is particularly important because that excess fat tissue converts testosterone into estrogen, which can impair sperm function. So while we try to reduce our environmental exposures, it's impossible to eliminate every single chemical exposure, and you may not need to. Some simple steps that you can take to just limit your exposure would be to avoid heating food in plastic containers, avoid putting plastics in the dishwasher because the drying cycle will actually evaporate them out. Try to opt for glass containers or stainless steel containers for food storage. And limit highly processed packaged foods. Another thing that you might want to do is replace heavily worn out non-stick cookware and choose fragrance-free personal care products when possible. None of these steps are guaranteed to change your fertility by themselves, but it might be a helpful step in the right direction to limit your exposure to them. So to wrap up here, the key point isn't to panic, it's just to change what you can without stressing out and without throwing everything in the kitchen sink. And just to make a few small changes. While these steps don't solve the global fertility problem by themselves, they might reduce the possible risks while research catches up. Many of the risk factors in male fertility are modifiable, and small changes in lifestyle, diet, and environment may help protect your reproductive health. And if you want to see more information about that, please see the next video. If you found this helpful, please subscribe as it helps me to continue making educational videos. Also, let me know in the comments what you would like to see next. Thanks for watching and take care of yourselves.